Hey, this is Waylon from Swiftwood Bows, and I'm going to show you my method for applying snake skins to the back of a bow. There's lots of ways to skin a bow, and I'm going to show you what works for me. It's important to have everything set up ahead of time, because once you get started, the project is a bit time sensitive. Got my hide glue all set up and a little makeshift double boiler ready to go. I'm going to be gluing down some rattlesnake skins today. I got these from Cipriano Ribera, and you can see I've already notched the ends to fit right up alongside the tip overlays. And back at the end of the table there, I just have a cloth wrap that I'll use later on to wrap the skins tight once they're glued down. To prepare the bow, I wipe the back down with some denatured alcohol just to get rid of any residual oil or grime that might be on there that would keep the glue from adhering. And then I sized the back of the bow with some hide glue so that when I go to glue down the skins, the wood's not going to drink up all the glue and make the bond fail. Next, I'm going to soak the skins in water here. They'll need to sit, I don't know, maybe 10 or 15 minutes just to make sure that they're thoroughly soaked and pliable. Gonna stick a rock here on top just to make sure that they're all immersed, and then we'll just let them sit. Don't tell my wife I'm using her mixing bowl for this. I don't show it here in the video, but after I soak the skins, I gently wash them with Dawn dish detergent and rinse them thoroughly, just as a precautionary degreasing measure. They should be fine without it, but can't hurt. Once the skins are done soaking, I'm going to blot them dry on the towel just to get rid of any excess water. Got my hide glue all warmed up, and I've got the snake skin rolled up here. I'm going to start with the tip overlay. I need to get the snake skin lined up where I cut that notch, and then I'm going to go from the tip, work my way down to the handle. I don't want to put all the hide glue on the bow at once because it's going to start to gel and dry out before I can get the skin on there, so I'm going to kind of do it as I go along here. Pays to be finicky at this point and get it right now, and you won't have to mess with it later when the glue's drying. Don't be shy with the glue. It's better to have too much than too little. Pay attention to how the skin lines up. With this rattlesnake skin, there's the diamondback pattern on it, and I'm careful to make sure that it's running exactly down the center of the bow as I go along. It'll look funny if it goes off to one side. I'm stretching the skin down tight as I go to both sides and looking for air bubbles, pushing them off to the side if I see them. Just making sure everything's lined up just right before I start to wrap it up. Now I'm going to wrap it up tight here till the glue sets. I'm using a cloth strip that's cut from an old t-shirt. I like this for one because it's cheap, but it's also breathable, and it doesn't have a strong texture like an ace bandage that can leave an imprint on things like rawhide. Doesn't matter so much for the snakeskin here, but this is what I use. So I just get it started on one end and keep it fairly tight. You have to be careful when you're putting a wrap on that you're not shifting the skin over and getting it out of alignment. So I kind of use my hands to hold it in place while I'm wrapping. Starts to get twisted up on me here, so I have to kind of work to untwist it as I'm wrapping it. I don't want it to get all bundled up. I want it to stay flat, so it's providing some even pressure on the skin. I like to wait about a half hour or so before I unwrap it. I don't want the glue to be set all the way because I need to be able to check and make sure that there's not alignment issues or air bubbles. So I want the glue to be somewhat still pliable so I can play around with a little bit before it dries all the way. Now's your chance to get all those air bubbles out, so take your time and really search them out, push them off to the side. It's easy to take care of them now, it's a pain to take care of them later. I've done both sides now. Here she is with all of her skins on and ready to dry. I usually end up going through and making sure that there's enough glue along the edge. I kind of futz with it a little bit more, squeeze a little bit more glue in where it needs to be, make sure everything's lined up, and then on this one I just wrapped it all back up in the cloth and set it overnight to dry. Alright, here she is the next afternoon. She's been sitting out in the sun drying for most of the day. There's still some parts of the skin that are a little bit soft and tacky, but I'm just going to get in there right now with a utility knife and kind of roughly trim off the excess skin. Especially because these skins are still a little bit soft in certain places. I'm going to go extra slow and careful here with the knife. If you go too fast, it can tear the skin and it might tear down into the area that I want to keep on the bow. I'm actually still debating on this skin whether I want it to go all the way down to the bottom edge of the belly or whether I want it to just be on the back. So for now I'm just going to trim as if I'm going to have it wrap around the edge of the bow. I'm leaving a little bit sticking off. I don't want to take it right down to the spot that I ultimately want it right now. I'll wait till the skin completely dries, and I like to use a really fine file to do that part. The knife's too risky in my opinion. I've slipped down further than I'd like in the past and don't want to repeat that mistake. Alright, now I'm going to use my mill file here to just take off the rough edge of the skin where I'd cut it with a knife. It pays to go slow and careful no matter what tool you're using. The snake skins are really thin and they tear easily. I tried to do short perpendicular cuts with the file. I found that if I run the file along the edge of the skin that it can grab it and tear it. The next step is going to be removing the scales. There's a lot of different techniques for doing this, but I'm going to use some 4/0 steel wool. I'm always rubbing with the scales, not against them. If you go against them, it can lift up the little flaps of skin and damage it. Well, after picking at it for a little bit, I decided that I'm going to take off the skin that's on the side of the bow. I said before that I hadn't decided whether I wanted to have the skin wrap around the edge or just stop at the back, and I decided I'm going to have it stop at the back. So I'm taking my mill file here and scraping off the skin that's on the side of the bow. When I'm using the file at this stage, I'm being conservative about where the leading edge of the skin is. I'm not taking it to its final place yet. I'm going to save that for the sanding block. The last step is cleaning up the edge with a sanding block. I'm going to start with some 150 grit. It's fine enough that it's not going to cause a lot of extra work for me later when I'm cleaning things up, but it's aggressive enough that I can quickly establish the line that I want and get rid of the roughness and the tool marks that were left over from the file. I'm going to come back after this with some 220 on the sanding block and really polish up the edge a lot better, but this will get us really close. Well, here's the skin all finished up, ready for the next stages of the finish work for the bow. I hope this video was helpful to you. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. If you have any tips or tricks, I'd love to hear those too. I'm always learning myself.